me, Assassin's Creed is essentially a long, epic story of a guy in the prison going in a machine called the Animus, and he's going to relive the life of his ancestors. In Assassin's Creed 2, we follow Desmond, who's going to live the life of Ezio Auditore da Firenze.
The meaning of Ezio's name, in following with the tradition established by the first Assassin's Creed, is that Ezio means eagle.
Eagle, or the flying one. Its origins come from Greece.
He's a young noble from Florence at the beginning of the game.
He's studying to follow in his father's footsteps. His father, as far as we know, is a banker.
As a rich boy in Florence, he doesn't really see the hardships of the peasants and other poor people. And it doesn't really affect him either. He's more of a carefree guy. He does what he has to do. He's got lots of money. He's got lots of friends. And in regards to the women, he's very charming. He always says the right thing, to surprise them, to stand out of the crowd. And that's why they have a really hard time resisting to his charms.
Ezio is a typical Italian nobleman in many ways. He's a fiery, violent, proud personality. He's terribly proud of his family.
He deals with noble people and with peasants in a very polite and courteous way, even if he's about to stick a hidden blade in your skull, right?
He has a very strange talent that his father is aware of, which is the eagle vision from the first game.
Nobody really knows how come he has that, but we sort of find out in the game.
At one point, something tragic happens to himself and his family.
What happens is that the same people that Ezio considered to be dear family friends actually turn on him.
People that are very close to him are taken from him, and becoming an assassin and acquiring those skills will give him the abilities necessary to exact revenge.
When you're used to just living free and living without a worry in the world, and all of a sudden the entire Florentine army is looking for you, and you have to protect your mother, you have to protect your sister, and you have to defend yourself, changes everything in his life.
So going from this life of la dolce vita, in Italy, it will have to become this guy who needs to kill in order to survive.
We see Ezio progressing very much so throughout the game, physically as well as emotionally and in his personality.
As a player, you will go just like the main character, in the same, you will be at first just like you and I, and then will become this badass main character.
Before, he just wants vengeance, but later on, he wants justice.
Ezio becomes an assassin in order to avenge the tragedy that's befallen his family. People that are very close to him are taken from him, and he's been branded a traitor and a criminal. The city guards who once respected him now hunt him, and the very people that claimed they would help him in his time of need have now turned against him.
Right after this event happens, he finds that mercenaries, prostitutes, and thieves are not the people that he should be fearing, but actually are the most trustworthy people.
What was important for me when we built the world of Assassin's Creed 2 is that you felt that you were part of one group of individuals. So we said, let's use the underworld, and so that's your family.
The three factions that we have are thieves, courtesans, and mercenaries, which will all help you either distract, elude, or literally beat up your enemies. The faction leaders will be met along the path in Assassin's Creed, and they will be asking you a couple of things to help them as they're helping you. So it's sort of a mutual trade-off between the two.
A lot of people will end up helping Ezio. There's his uncle Mario that he hasn't seen many years that will help him tone his fighting skills. There's Machiavelli as well that we find in the game, and finally obviously Leonardo da Vinci, who's going to become quickly a very close friend of Ezio, not to mention a test dummy for his wild inventions.
Leonardo is going to be one of your main friends, and basically is going to act as a Q in James Bond.
For Assassin's Creed 2, we have the notion of crowd groups, where in Assassin's Creed 1, the crowd was a little bit individualistic, where no one would bunch up together. Now we really have formations that are moving along the city.
You can blend in, you can steal from everyone you see, like because we have this economic system. So the economic system gave us the opportunity to use the crowd differently than in Assassin's Creed 1.
Banking came up just a few years previous to the time period that Assassin's Creed 2 is set. Some of the most prominent Italian families actually went into banking. The citizens of each of the cities started to move away from trade, and coins actually became a marketable currency.
And so we decided to say, that's great, because we want to have it for the game, and our subject tell us that, it makes sense. So we combine the two, and that's why there's an economic system in Assassin's Creed 2.
The most exciting thing about the economic system is giving the players the choice to do what they want with their money. So instead of feeding the player rewards at a given time that is set by the level designers, we give you a whole bunch of options that the player can actually choose when and where to purchase.
At the beginning of Assassin's Creed 2, what I wanted is really to change the structure of the missions. To instead of having a main structure, it's to have different structure each time you start a new sequence of missions.
There's a story that will be there. They'll drive the missions, surprise you, maybe missions that you start and you think they're going to do something, maybe you'll have a U-turn and do something else instead.
Hey, I remember you.
You never know really what's going to happen next in Assassin's Creed 2.
There's a little bit for everybody. We're really trying to make sure that the game appeals to as many people as possible.
We have retry points still in AC2 with climbing puzzles.
Then you'll have, collectible quests.
There are crowd missions.
There's the narrative mission.
You have these missions that you can do to change your notoriety in the city.
There's also the city life,
which are just randomly occurring acts throughout the world.
For example, we have the messenger. The messenger who sees Ezio, sees the player, will run away. So it's up to the player to say, am I chasing him to get the letter he's carrying or not?
We have one guy that we call the pickpocketeer. So basically that guy will be able to steal the money from the assassin and start running. So what do? Do you continue your mission, or you go back to that guy to be able to get the money?
Throughout the world, you're going to find exciting, memorable historical landmarks that also have interiors that you get to play through with lots of acrobatics and running and jumping. And these interiors lead to tombs that have been hidden for hundreds of years that only the assassins can find.
You find these caves, you find old rundown castles, you can find a church.
And you'll be, doing free running around the church to eventually find a hidden treasure.
The player's going to be inside the Duomo, and that interior is one of the biggest interiors in Italy. And jumping and climbing through all of it is really going to give you a sense of the awesomeness of this building and your incredible freedom.
For sure, these moments will be like a wow moment. It's like having an extra game or extra games inside the game that you bought.
So each missions are different, a lot more variety. So it's not about doing investigation and assassination 9 times. It's really more like each time a mission can lead to a beat-up mission, can lead to a chase, an escape, can lead to an assassination.
It's quite overwhelming, the amount of stuff there is.
Well, having more missions requires us ultimately to have more cutscenes and more cinematics, but I think we're adding a lot of value to these to the player. Like a couple of examples of this is you could still control the camera like you did in AC1. People like that feature a lot. We also have mini branching cutscenes where the player will have to interact at a specific time, and this may have 2 different effects. So if you hit the cinematic at the wrong time, then you might just hug a lady, whereas if you hit it on the right time, well, who knows what's going to happen.